Good morning, folks. Thanks for tuning in today. Today's October 13th, 2024, and we're here at the Pacific Pinball Museum's Annex in Alameda, California, where we store upwards of 1,300 different pinball machines in our vast collection. Today, we're going to talk about a pinball designer by the name of Ed Krynski, who isn't exactly a household name, and he's kind of the Rodney Dangerfield of pinball designers in the sense that he had a very prolific career. Most of that career was spent designing upwards of 200 machines for David Gottlieb and Company from 1964 through about 1984. But a lot of folks don't realize that prior to working at Gottlieb, he actually spent 7 years working at a company called JH Keeney Company from 1956 through about 1963. So today we're going to talk about four of the machines that he designed while at Keeney. They were flipper pins, but throughout Keeney's entire 30-year existence from 1933 through about 1963, the Keeney Company only made 7 flipper pinball titles. And so today we're going to cover 4 of those. And they're very rare and unusual and hard to find because, first of all, they didn't make very many of them, and second, there weren't too many survivors. But a little bit about Ed Krynski. He was born in 1927. He lived to be 77 years old and passed away in 2004. And the first 7 years of his career at age 29 in 1956, he joined up with JH Keeney. Now in the mid-50s, you have to realize the pinball industry was really dominated by 3 companies, David Gottlieb and Company, Williams, and then Bally, even though Bally really didn't start making flipper pins till about 1960 or 61. But Gottlieb and Williams definitely dominated the industry. Then you had other companies like Exhibit and United, and then Chicago Coin. But Keeney in that era, in the mid-50s, they were really designing, and what they did throughout their 30-year history was really gambling-type machines with console slot machines, with flasher pins with payouts, and progressive slot machines. They made a few puck shuffle bowlers, even a couple of rifle games. And they did make some flipperless titles, but really they were known as a gambling company. And they actually did make their first flipper pinball in 1947, a game called Cover Girl. And that was the year that the flipper was invented in Gottlieb's Humpty Dumpty. But it wasn't until 12 years later that they would make their first flipper pin in production numbers in 1959. And that's this game here called Royal Bells. And actually they made 2 versions of the game. One was called 11 Bells, which was the United States version, but the Royal Bells was the version that they exported to Europe. And this is the Royal Bells, which is even rarer than the 11 Bells. And the interesting thing about this game is, true to their gambling roots, it's really, even though it does have flippers, the replay counter goes up to 999, which is kind of the tip-off that it's definitely a gambling game. But if you look at the playfield design, it was really patterned after some of the Bally 1 and 2 ball games where you had 9 passive bumpers, 1 pop bumper, and the idea was you only get 1 ball, and you're trying to light as many of the numbers as you can. You need a minimum of 6 to win even 2 replays. If you get all 11, you win 100 replays. Now the only way to get the 10 and the 11 is to land the ball in this saucer, which when those 2 numbers are lit, because these light randomly for 1, 2, 3, or 4 numbers at a time. And once it does go in the saucer, it's going to kick the ball right down the center. But if you can get the first 9 and then land it in there, you'll get your 100 replays for lighting all 11 numbers. Almost impossible to actually do. So we're going to start the game, and actually I should remove the playfield glass, and that way I can light different features. So we're going to start a game now, and I'll show you what the playfield looks like when it first starts up. All the numbers will come on. So all numbers 1 through 9 are lit, and so far it looks like this, as I said, the kicker hole spots 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3, or 4 numbers randomly. We actually do have the 10 and the 11 lit, but we don't want to go in there yet. We want to at least try to see as many, light as many of the numbers we can. That's the last thing you want to do, because again, the ball's going to go kick right down the middle. But if we shoot a ball, if you're lucky, you can get out the. Oh, and see, we do have flippers here, so we can. All right, so that's definitely not a winner, because we didn't even light any of the numbers. So let's try it again. Show you how difficult it is to even get 2 or 3 numbers, let alone 1. Yeah, it's not as you can see, it's not an easy machine. Oh, okay, we'll try it again one more time. This time, let's try to light the numbers manually. There's the 1, 2, and you see we're actually scoring points, and you can beat the game on points that way. And then we'll go down the. Oh, okay. But it's really I think the main idea we're trying to convey here is just how difficult it is even to get 2, 3, or 4 numbers, let alone 6. The minimum you need is 6 numbers to win a replay, and the ball tends to go right down the middle. Very difficult game. So this is the second game that Ed Krynski designed for JH Keeney Company in 1959. And in their entire existence, Keeney only made 7 pinball titles that had flippers. This is one of the 7. This was 1959, a game called High Straight. It's a fairly rare game, doesn't come up for sale very often or in very many people's collections. And it's a very strange game in the sense that it does have flippers, but the object of the game is to get a straight from 10 through ace. And thankfully, you don't need to do it in any particular order. But what's difficult to do about this game is the only way to change the cards on the back glass for scoring is you go through rollovers 1 through 5. The 1 rollover will change this card, the 2 rollover will change this card, etc. So there's 5 rollovers there, 1 through 5, and then there's 5 rollovers at the bottom, and then 1 and 2 on the sides, and then 1 and 2 on these sides. Once you do light the cards that have straight, 10 through ace, you light corresponding pop bumpers. So instead of 10,000, they're worth 100,000 when you've spotted the cards. We'll start a game, and I'll show you how difficult this game is. One thing that's unusual about the game is you would think that the next number in sequence would be 7, but it's not. The numbers are totally random, and unless you played probably 100 games on this thing, you could, I guess, memorize which of the 10 numbers is going to come up next. But it's almost impossible to predict, because while you're playing the game, you're too busy trying to keep the ball in play, let alone keep track of what numbers you need to get next. Although down here on the playfield, it shows you what cards, at least in the straight sequence, you've got. So we've got the king and the jack so far. 6, 7s are worthless. Now, once you do get let's say you're fortunate enough to light the straight, the next object is you've got to drain the ball down the gobble hole, so you lose your ball, but as a result of that, the special lanes light up. There's 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. If you're lucky enough to do that on the first ball, the next 4 balls you could spend just getting specials. But it probably takes you at least till the 4th ball, or maybe even the 5th ball, just to even light the specials to begin with. So again, it's very, very difficult game to play. I'll demonstrate how these change. Let's go through the 1 rollover, which is going to change this card. Okay, so now we've got the ace lit in our sequence. We've got ace, king, and jack. Let's see if we can change the 3. Another ace isn't going to help us. There we go, ace, king, queen. If we change the 4, jack. Now all we need is the 10. So we got to hit the 5 enough times to make it go 10. All right. Now we've got all the straights lit up, the cards for the straight. Then we need to go down the gobble hole, and then that's going to light the side lanes for specials. All right. So now everything is worth a replay. Okay, so on the previous ball, we were fortunate enough to light all the cards in the straight sequence, 10 through ace. And then we dropped the ball down the gobble hole, which lights your special rollovers. Now the object is going to be to try to get the ball into the special rollovers for replays every time we do that. The good news is they stay lit for the next few balls. The bad news is how hard it is to actually get the ball into there. Oh, okay, didn't get it there. Oh, no, almost got there. Now the good news is the special rollovers remain lit even though we've changed the cards. There we go. All right, we want a replay. It has these goofy impulse flippers that kind of move the ball around, but it's kind of hard. It's really next to impossible to get the ball back up to the top of the playfield. Oh, there we go. Went down the side for another replay. That's good. So we're scoring points also, and you can beat the game on points, but you can see how random the roll of the ball is. I mean, it's almost, I guess, a well-timed skill shot is good enough to get it in the special, but it's pretty difficult to get the ball back up to the top of the playfield, let alone line up the cards. And then when the game is over, all the lights turn off. That was our 5th ball. Here we're looking at the 3rd game that Ed Krynski designed for Keeney Company. This was 1963. The name of the game is Poker Face. The artwork was done by Roy Parker. Now, in 1963, at this point in Keeney's pinball evolution, this looks like a more traditional pinball machine where the replay counter only goes up to 27 or 26. The flippers are in the traditional V-shaped pattern. It doesn't have a gobble hole, and it just looks like a standard pinball game and not so much of a gambling device. The interesting thing that Keeney started doing also was notice the score reels. They're not the typical white background with the black numbers, and they're green, and they're lit up from behind. Gottlieb and Williams didn't do that. I think Chicago Coin did that, but it's kind of a unique Keeney feature. Again, the artwork is definitely Roy Parker, who did most of Gottlieb's artwork. This is 1963. So I'll start a game and I'll show you how to what the object of the game is and how it works. And interestingly, the flippers on Keeney games don't work until you've shot a ball and activated the ball through the ball gate. And then as soon as we do that, you'll see balls played number 1. So the 1 lights up. And the object is to get poker hands, just like in poker, either a full house or a royal flush. Now we're on ball 2. So far, we've got the ace lit and the 3. There's the 5. Another 3. Now, the way to get the poker cards are, here's the king, here's the ace, the jack, and the 10 are only available through this kicker hole here. But this card has to be lit. And the way to change that is to hit the various targets. So now we've got this will give us the queen if we go in the hole there. And looks like, so you can beat the game either on a royal flush, if you get all those cards, or a full house. So if we get another 3, and then if we get a 5, Now full house target lights up for a replay or a special. So that was one credit we just won. There's another one. And it's really hard to get the 3s and the 5s because you've got to go down the out lanes to get them. There's a 3 lane here, there's a 5 lane there, there's a 7, and then the others are 5, 3, 3, and 7 down there. So not easy to get the cards when you want them to, but right now, for example, the 10, if we go in the hole, and there's a lot of action on the playfield, as you can see. It's kind of a fun, neat little game, actually. So we're going to start a game now on Poker Face, and I'll walk you through the balls 1 through 5 and show you exactly how easy it is. Now remember, the object of the game is to get either the royal flush cards lit and then hit the corresponding bullseye target, or the royal flush lit and hit the corresponding bullseye target for replays. So as you can see, there's a lot of action. The ball bounces around quite a bit, and it's actually, I think, Keeney's very first attempt at legitimate pinball with the traditionally spaced flippers, no gobble hole, and actually a decent chance of beating the game. How are we doing so far? It's probably not as hard as I make it look, but it can. Now the way to get the cards lit for the royal flush is to spot them either 10 through ace in the kicker hole. So right now, if we go in the kicker hole, we'll light the jack, and then luckily it kicks the ball up toward the top of the playfield, not the bottom. So, and if you can land the ball in the hole, there we go. We can keep lighting cards that way. And then to get the royal flush cards, you either have to get them down the side drains or back up through the top center rollover lanes up on top. Oh, almost. Ah. Okay, let's make it a little easier for us here. There we go. I'm gonna, just for demonstration purposes, I'll get a full house going. All right, so we've got the full house with 3 3s and 2 7s. So now when we hit this bullseye target, we'll win a replay. So now we have 7 credits instead of 6. Now let's see if we can get the royal flush lit. What do we need? The 10 and the queen. There's the 10. Now we just need the queen. There's the queen. Why isn't the royal? Oh, did that light the queen? There we go. Now we've got royal flush and full house lit. Every time we hit one of those, we'll win a replay. So, but it's actually a pretty fun game, and as I said, Keeney's first effort toward what I would consider traditional pinball with the commonly spaced flippers, a decent ball time, not a drain monster like some of the Bally titles of that era were, and actually pretty fun to play. Quite challenging. The card theme, by the way, was pretty common with Gottlieb and Williams at the time as well. Something I think a lot of players can relate to. Oh, we're hitting. You can see how easy it is to hit the replays once you do get them lit. So now I'm going to start a game, and I'll show you how the cards change on the back glass as I trigger certain rollovers on the playfield. There's 2 ways to beat the game, by the way. You can beat it on points, or you can beat it with cards. You can get either a full house, which is 3 of a kind and 2 of a kind, or a royal flush. First we'll start with the full house. So the way this, we'll get the 7 rollover first. So there's our 7 card. Now we'll get the 5 rollover. There's our 5. And we'll do the 3 rollover. And now we have a 3. Let's try another 3. Okay, we got 2 3s. So to get the full house, we need one more 3. And the only other way to get that 3 is to drain down the right side. So, we've got to get the full house, which means we need either a 7 or a 5. Let's try the 5. Okay, so now full house is lit, the bullseye, so we have to hit it to get the replay. Let's try for the royal flush. We have no cards lit yet. Here comes the ace, through the ace rollover. Let's try the queen via the kicker hole. Now we'll get the ace in the kicker hole. We'll do the 10, jack and, let's see, we need jack and king, okay. Here comes the jack. And all we need is the king. Here comes the king. All right, so now we've got the royal flush lit, and we're winning replays left and right. We can, as you said, we can actually beat the game on points as well. So, but we've got all the cards lit that we need. It's really hard to get the cards because there's only a 7 and a 5 on the playfield, and then there's a 3 in the upper playfield. The other cards are in the out lanes. So it's required that you actually drain the ball to light those other cards. Not an easy thing to do. But yeah, it's a fun and a very challenging game. Once I doubt if you'd ever be able to get all the cards lit because it requires draining at least 4 balls to get 4 of those cards. Not that you need to, but you could. Now what we're looking at is Keeney's 4th flipper pinball that they made, also designed by Ed Krynski. This was made in 1963. It's called Go-Kart. And for those of you of a certain age, I'm sure you remember that go-karting was very popular in the United States in the early 60s through about the mid-70s. There were tracks devoted to people that could build their own carts from kits. They would take lawnmower engines like a Briggs & Stratton 2 or 3 horsepower, or really hop it up with a 10 horsepower Mack chainsaw engine if you're really innovative. But go-karting was very, very, very popular. And again, this is made in 1963, Ed Krynski designed. And you notice, because it's Keeney, it's got the light-up score reels from behind. It's also got the green reels with the white lettering that was a Keeney unique feature. And this being the 4th game that Keeney made, it looks very traditional with the layout of the flippers, the pop bumpers, no gobble holes. It's legitimate non-gambling pinball. And there's 2 or 3 ways to beat it. You could either, one of the objects is to light up all 7 of the go-karts, and then that lights your special out lanes for replays. Or you can beat it by points, and the way to get the more points is to get advances by hitting these bullseye targets, and every advance moves the dot around the playfield. If you get a complete lap, this 10-point target changes to 20 points. Get another lap on advances, and then it becomes 30 points. Another lap, and then the target becomes 50 points. And that's big points on a game of this type. So one of the ways to beat this game is to get all 7 of the go-karts. The good news is you don't have to get them in sequence. So, for example, we get the 2. Oh, you have to shoot a ball first. Okay, so we get the 2 first. There's our 2. Let's get the 5 next. And then we'll get the 7. There's the 6. There's the 1, 4. Last one we need is the 3. So now we have the special lane lit, and here comes a replay. So here we go. We're going to start up a game, and I'll walk you through, show you how the gameplay works. Now again, the object is to light the go-karts 1 through 7. Here's the 1. There's the 3. And there's the 6. And you don't have to get the 1 through 7 in sequence, thank goodness. But once you get 1 through 7, then you light the out lane for specials. So now we've got all 7 go-karts lit, and here's our out lane for special, which is a replay. And along the way, you could beat the game on points. If you hit the green rollover button, the pop bumpers light up. If you roll over the red rollover button, it turns off the pop bumpers. And then there's another replay. If you hit the center target, it's now worth 20 points. But as we keep hitting advances, the center target becomes worth 30 points. Now it's worth 30. And if we did one more advance, it's worth 50 points, which is pretty big points on this game. But it's a fun little game. There's a lot of action, and again, it's actually beatable. You can actually beat the game, and you don't need to get all 7 in sequence, thank goodness. Ball bounces around quite a bit. It's not a drain monster in particular, and it's easy to keep the ball in play. And fair amount of action too. It's kind of a fun little game to play, actually. And it is possible to hit the ball back up to the top of the playfield, which is kind of nice. Oh, another replay, that's good. All right, last ball. So if we can get the pop bumpers lit, we can get the 10-point scoring going, but it's not always easy to do. Oh, not a bad score. We won several games on specials.